welcome everyone to What an Impact. What an Impact is a 30-minute weekly reaction show where we talk about what really matters, and that's tonight's TNA Impact. This is episode 0, recorded live on August 23rd, 2012, directly after this week's Impact. My name is Garvin, and with me is out on bond Steve Gallan. Say hello, Steve.
Yo, what's going on?
And you too can join the conversation by adding the FTW Podcast on Skype or by posting your thoughts in the live chat here on FTWLive.com. We're going to be bringing in calls in about 10 minutes, so send us a chat message and let us know what you want to discuss tonight. This is the official podcast of Facebook.com/groups/TNA, where the big boys play, and has been brought to you by FTWPodcast.com. You can listen to each and every episode of the FTW Podcast by tuning in here at FTWLive.com on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Join FTW as they bring you the week that was in professional wrestling. But now, we run down Impact, and what an impact it was, Steve. Started off really hot. Aces and Eights, they had that video package as they came in. There was the whole Aces and Eights versus TNA build-up. Storm and Sting made up, basically because Storm is no longer being accused of being a part of it. Aces and Eights sends out 2 guys. They got beat up. An unknown guy, which I think people were saying is Lash LaRue from WCW back like 10 years ago. I think he did spend some time in TNA, but it was limited. But still, a relatively unknown guy. He said that they were in for a long and painful night, but do you agree? A hot start.
Oh, man, it was great. I thought it built up everything quite well. You know, I was hyped up, and then later on when we saw Hogan come back, that was my mark-out moment. You know, he had the intensity, all that good stuff, hit him with the bad Joker, Sting, I'm sorry, he was acting like the Joker. You know, he was doing his thing, so it really built up for a good ending segment. I thought it was real critical for the storyline tonight. Definitely.
Sure. Well, let's spend the next few minutes just basically going over the card itself. Like I said, we started off with Aces and Eights. Next up was Miss Tessmacher in the ring. That was about at the 15-minute mark, so the first 15 minutes were dedicated to Aces and Eights versus TNA. But Tessmacher was in the ring. She, as champion, calls out Tara, her mentor, for the open fight night. Taryn Terrell was made the referee. I guess she's the referee now for all knockouts matches. Is that what you got?
Yeah, that's what I took as, and I think it's pretty cool, but we all know that she's going to become a wrestler, so I think they should stick with it, because it's kind of interesting. It's never been done, not that I've seen on, US TV, and good idea. Whoever brought it up, I give them kudos.
Yeah, it definitely allows them to have Brooke Hogan involved without actually being involved.
True.
So.
Yeah, because she's kind of a botch as it is.
Yeah.
You never know if it's going to come out good or bad. She seems nervous all the time.
Yeah, but again, we didn't see Brooke Hogan tonight. Tara defeated Tessmacher by pinfall, which was kind of surprising. It was about a 5-minute match, an awkward match at best. There was a few moments where you didn't think that they were like communicating very well, but I think, at least me personally, it seemed like it was an issue with the commentating team. Like they were talking about things that weren't really relevant to the match, so it seemed awkward. There was some obvious tension. Those 2 friends didn't really want to fight each other, didn't want to hit each other.
Right. They were trying to pull out that kind of storyline, which, to me, the bad part about the match was I still feel like Tessmacher is still a little green, man. She botched a couple spots. And to me, Tara seemed like a pro. Like, she should have been world champ. So that came off good. Like, this could be a good rivalry. But they got to pull it out right. Tara's looking hot like usual. It's been a while since I thought that. But I thought it was great all in all. Big spot at the end. That suplex turned out okay. Not, a little better than average, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it was a decent match, but it did come off really awkward because of that commentary. The commentary was so disjointed with everything, and that's a real shame because there was a good story being told in the ring. After that, we saw Robbie E versus RVD versus AJ Styles. They put that match together because the Pope was out and they need to start eliminating more people. Robbie E got the win, though. I mean, how surprising was that?
It was great, man. I had a feeling he was going to win because he's so far back, but I think they're going to use the Bound for Glory series, the rest of it at least, to try to push him as like a serious contender. And, hey, he's doing good in my book, bro. So.
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, he's not going to do well in the BFG series. He's out. I mean, I think even with tonight, he only got up to 12 points. Nowhere near, enough points to move on, especially because we are basically at the end. Later on, Mr. Anderson announced that this was his last match in his series, so there is no time for him to do well here. But it is possible that Robbie E could move on from this and actually get a decent push, which is something we really haven't seen since he had the TV title.
And even with the TV title, I don't think it was that big of a push. I think they're just trying to establish that, that they have a TV title and they put it on a bad guy so people will notice it. But I wanted to bring up was that comment made on the board about Garrett Bischoff being better in ring than Robbie E. Yeah. I couldn't believe that they said that because Robbie E in ring is pretty decent. He's not the best. He's no Kurt Angle or anything, but he's getting there. He's still young, and I see a bright future. He's gonna break away from this character. He's gonna use this as a setup, and hey, I'm down with Robbie E and Robbie T, man.
Well, let's not hold back, Steve. It was Whoppy Wop that said it.
Oh yeah.
Whoppy Wop said that Garrett was better. Robbie E sucks on the mic, sucks in the ring, and has no business in TNA. Incredibly wrong.
Yeah, but everyone takes their own opinion, I guess. But to be the worst ever, I could go through a list and find out some worse people. That's why I threw out Garrett Bischoff. Like, this guy's still just learning. Robbie E, you can almost consider him a pro. He's on TV quite much, on the internet everywhere, doing his thing.
Plus, the other thing you have to give to Robbie E is it did seem like he started to grow a beard. And that's all good.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even notice that until you said something.
Next up on the show, Hardy challenges Robbie T. This was surprising to me because, I mean, it is open fight night. He can challenge whoever he wants. But it seemed more appropriate that he would go after a BFG series match. So, I understand why he made the challenge. He challenged Robbie T because of their feud that was going on, from a few weeks ago. But still, it just seems kind of odd.
Just out of place. That's what it seemed like. And then it was just a squash match. So it was what it was. Kind of get Jeff Hardy over. The fans loved it. They were cheering their ass off. So
yeah, and it is not. I mean, it's rare that you see a smaller guy squash a bigger guy. I mean, this was like a 2-minute match, maybe.
But yeah, I pointed that out on the group. It's like, hey, it was different. Normally you see, someone, I hate to mention WWE here, Ryback versus anybody. Instead TNA did the different and went small guy beats big guy. I think they did that to prove a point. Didn't have anything to do with the storyline, just TNA did it because they can.
Well, I mean, and Nick's pointing out in the live chat, I mean, he is saying, Robbie T did cost Hardy 5 points back before the last pay-per-view. So, I mean, there was some storyline going on that they were finishing with this, but still, it just seemed out of place for sure. Also from the live chat, Joe, he said, Hardy is mid-card at best. Who do you think Jeff should elevate to the upper card? Honestly, in this position, I think Robbie T should have gotten some kind of build off of it. I mean, this was his first match in at least since April, it seems. He hasn't really been in the ring at all outside of some interferences. So it would be nice to see him get some kind of solid push, and he didn't get it.
Yeah, he does have the size, to get the attention. He's a freak. Robbie T. But as Hardy is a mid-carder, I think TNA is making him pay his dues because he messed up so bad with all the drugs and stuff, and showing up to matches fucked up. So I think they're just using him as a draw right now and trying to push on younger talents. So it was.
Yeah, it didn't seem like that at first. I mean, when they first brought him back, it did seem like they were pushing him pretty hard. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he is in that mid card. He's a strong mid carder, but he's not really being used as a top guy yet, which is okay by me. I know there are some fans in the Impact group that would like to see him in that main event, but I'm okay with them holding it off so that he can show some consistency.
Right. I agree.
Moving on, as we ended the first hour, we saw some Styles and Kaz talk in the back as they were basically ripping AJ and building up that whole paternity segment that was coming up. We also saw Sting call out Aces and Eights backstage. Back in the ring, the whole paternity test was, the whole Claire storyline was basically resolved, but it was resolved in like the weirdest fashion.
It was.
What they did was they had basically AJ called out Claire. Claire didn't come out and said it was Kaz and Daniels, and they gave up some cheap excuse why she wasn't there. She was in the hospital. And then her lawyer came out and basically was like, this is all a ruse. We've been blackmailing AJ Styles this whole time. AJ is actually a really quality guy, and Kaz and Daniels, paid her to do this, basically. So, I don't know, it just seemed really odd. Like, they could have just said, yeah, we're going to ignore this storyline now. AJ's not the father. Okay, let's move on. But instead, it's like this whole 12, 15-minute segment to...
Yeah, where she was talking and just basically reading from a script, which doesn't kind of look weird. But, they're trying to connect the dots to try to make it make sense, I think, and just end it. Like, recap the storyline and it's done, which I'm really happy about. I think a lot of people are going to be happy that that's not going to be taking up, almost half hour of every show anymore. Because it's been going on quite a long time, and for it to just to end like this was kind of disappointing. I thought maybe they could swerve us and be like, yeah, he is the father. And that would have been weird, but then that would have dragged it on.
Sure.
So.
Well, where do they go from here, do you think?
They're done. I think.
What I mean with AJ, specifically.
With AJ, they might give him a tag team partner to go after the tag titles, but it's really hard to come off of this and keep feuding. We've seen, Daniels versus AJ so many times that it's going to start losing its spark. Even though they keep pulling out tricks, but they have to, start doing gimmick matches. This match, if we win, I get to do a paternity test or a hardcore match or, how they do. And they can't just have a one-on-one and people will be into it every time.
Sure. From the live chat, they're saying, I don't think there's any way this could have ended that didn't end in disappointment. Also, Kaz should have ended up being the father.
Yeah. Like I said,
give them something interesting to do.
Kind of take AJ out of the storyline and just make it between Kaz, Daniels, and Claire. That would have been cool. They would have had their own little stable or some kind. Kaz is a bad guy. Maybe they could have had Kaz be like a deadbeat father. Go ahead and say, no, I'm not taking care of this kid, or, that would have brought some real heat to him.
Yeah, and, before I ask you this question, I just want to throw this out again. This is a live show. I know there's some people in the live chat at ftwlive.com, but you can also join us on Skype in just a few minutes. If you want, add the FTW Podcast on Skype. Send me a message, and I'll bring you in the call when the time is here. But real quick, this whole AJ Styles thing, now that they've put him in this situation, they've basically cleared him, made him, back to being this quality guy. Do you see him being an inductee to the Hall of Fame now?
Yeah, it looks like that's what they're building for, to make, he is the face of TNA. Everyone says it. And this just put him over the top, like, super good guy. So, if it's not this year, it's next year. Or, like, what I say is that you should be retired for 1 year before you go into any type of Hall of Fame, So, I'm thinking, yeah, even without this, he would be in the Hall of Fame anyways.
Sure, and I mean, he still is, a major player in the BFG series, so there's definitely room for him to build off of this. But right after this, we saw Sting in the back. He caught up with 3 members of Aces and Eights, distracted them, and then Hogan came back, attacked him. It was Hollywood Hogan, so he had like the black beard.
Yeah.
That was kind of nice to see. That's not what I was expecting when he said he was going to go old school. I thought it was going to be a little bit different, but I mean that is a nice surprise as long as they don't make him the heel again. I'm hoping he stays on Sting's side here, but he did take out all 3 members of Aces and Eights with a baseball bat. Your thoughts on how they handled this segment specifically?
That segment was awesome. It was the first time we seen Hollywood come back for the night, and hey, he looked good to me. He was very intense and ready to, I forgot what he said. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna rip your heart out and feed it to my dog." And he brought it, so you knew the war was on right there. That's what I think that segment was supposed to prove, and it did it.
Yeah, and he was growling like a dog. It was kind of weird, he was kind of rabid. It was a different side of Hogan that we haven't seen in a long, long time.
He seems like he wants to contribute right now. I think he feels good. That back surgery, probably went really well. He's really happy with TNA. If he wasn't happy, he would have been gone a long time ago.
Right, exactly. Also, after that, we saw an Alex Silva video package. This is the first time we've seen Alex Silva since he won Gut Check. It was kind of weird, but I mean, like they just recapped what he went through, him winning. So it was kind of like a reminder that Alex Silva won. So maybe we might see him on Impact soon. Right.
That's what it looks like. It's about time that they use one of the Gut Check contestants that won somewhere, because it seems like they keep winning and they're not using them. They're sending them to Ohio Valley Wrestling and letting people forget about him. It seems like, because I wasn't thinking of Alex Silva all week, and without that promo, I probably would have forgot about him. But hopefully he comes back and does good. He was pretty good on the mic from what I've seen, but it was pre-recorded too, so.
Sure. Speaking of the Gut Check, next up was Chris Louie. This was his first time out there. They've been building him up in video packages from last week. They did a little bit of that again tonight. What do you think of Chris Louie? Do you think he's going to get signed?
Oh no. So if I got to vote, I would say no. He botched pretty bad a couple times, and he just seemed tired the whole match. Like he was like working out all week, and it doesn't even show body build wise. So I seen on TNA Backstage Pass during the commercial, he came out and JB was gonna interview him. He was like sweating bullets, about to pass out, and he couldn't even do an interview. So after a 10-minute match, and was it even 10 minutes? It was like 5. With Gunner, that just took out everything. So, I don't know. Not yet, at least. Maybe next year.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty awful. That was
the worst.
By far the worst that we've seen so far. And if they needed to make an example of someone, they needed to not sign someone. This was a good guy to bring in for that role.
That might have been their point. I felt like they were gonna just keep signing wrestlers, and everyone wins Gut Check for some reason.
Yeah, that's what it was starting to become, which is not the purpose. So I'm glad that we're finally seeing some not as quality guys come through, and hopefully they do the right thing and not sign him. and make an example. I don't know what you guys think in the live chat. Feel free to post your thoughts. Do you think that they should sign this guy? I totally forgot his name now. Chris Louis. Do you guys think that they should sign him? We'll read your answers a little bit later on. Another ODB segment with no EY. It's like they continue to push that thing. I'm completely unsure the point of it. So let me turn it to you, Steve.
I feel like it was a waste. Well, I think they're gonna push ODB to start like talking to other guys and stuff like that. So when Eric Young comes back, it's gonna be like a storyline where he's gonna fight for his girl when his show, the season ends on his show. But also they want to, promote his show because I heard the ratings are doing pretty good. For a Sunday night, he's getting more ratings than TNA. By the numbers, but it's also on a different network.
True.
And hey, I don't know. They really didn't give me anything to work with there. Besides that, she's kind of raunchy.
Yeah, I mean, I get that they needed to write EY off of TV for a while. I just don't know why they need to continue to push this off. I mean, just write her off as well and let that, let them be on an extended honeymoon or something.
That would have made more sense. It's like, we need time off. We're newlywed. Leave us alone. Hey, no questions asked. It all makes sense. Very simple. But sometimes they try to make it too complex. Try to look too much into it. But I think they should start booking ODB in some matches and let her break away from, Eric Young a little bit to make sure that, the fans know who she is.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be a fantastic idea if they did that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can keep the relationship existent, but it's almost as if they're writing this for them to write it off, for them to split up or something, So,
yeah.
At least that's what it seems like to me. But the last match of the night, the main event, Anderson calls out Bully Ray. This is Anderson's final Bound for Glory series opponent. He's out of the running unless he got a submission tonight. I think he was at 40 points when we first started. He needed 50 to be even close to the top 4. He won, but he won with 7 points with that pinfall, so he's still out of the running. But that keeps Bully Ray out of the top 4 too. So, your thoughts on this match?
I'm mad. Bully Ray lost. He's in my fantasy league. But it went pretty well. They're both professionals, you can tell. Pretty exciting. The crowd was into it. A couple good spots there. I thought Bully Ray was going to win after the Bubba Bomb, and that surprised me. I thought maybe, Aces and Eights was going to jump in and, because I'm starting to think that Bully Ray has something to do with that. But kind of a little less this week than last week. But all in all, solid main event. Nothing out of the, 5 stars, match of the year type, but pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was pretty impressed with the match. Bully was definitely showing some pain in that elbow that he hurt at the last pay-per-view. So I don't know. We don't know exactly what's going on, but if that's really injured, maybe that's why he lost tonight. Just trying to figure out reasons why they would do that and why they wouldn't push him into the top 4, because that's definitely where he belongs. I think we all can agree on that. It'd be nice to see him do something productive, and being in the top 4 of the Bound for Glory series would put him in a good spot.
It would. So, they need a heel in the top 4 anyways. They said James Storm, Samoa Joe. I think they said Angle. I have it written down.
Yeah, I got James Storm with 66, Samoa Joe with 61, RVD with 55, AJ Styles with 50. That's your top 4. Then you got Kurt Angle and Bully Ray with 48.
Right. So they have no heel in the top 4. And you got Austin Aries that's super face right now. So it seems to me it won't be too exciting unless they have some guy that is a heel.
Well, you got some tweeners. I mean, you got Samoa Joe, and he kind of plays both sides of the fence. Kurt Angle's the same way if they push him up there. But I definitely think that they're pushing a Samoa Joe Austin Aries match. That's the match I want to see, and I know a lot of people have been pulling for Samoa Joe, from 2 years ago, trying to get this guy in the main event. So it'd be nice to see them finally do that.
Yeah, I know the internet community would love that. They're both in Ring of Honor, and to see how far they came to be at the WrestleMania TNA. Yeah, that would be a good option. Probably the best option that they have.
All right, back in the live chat. Let's go back to the whole EY and ODB talk. Nick is saying, I actually do want to see ODB back in the knockout scene again. Have EY be laid up in the hospital because ODB broke him during their honeymoon or something. Be creative in that way to keep him off TV. Push her in the knockouts, and that's what we're saying too. But Joe is kind of the opposite. He's saying TNA needs more EY, and I can agree with that. I mean, EY is an entertaining wrestler. Definitely someone that should have been pushed farther than he actually was.
He's prime time. He's entertainment however he goes. He always thinks of something creative, and lately he's been hilarious. Like, in a hilarious way where it's not like burying himself or doing goofy things, running around with a sock on his hand or anything. And
yeah,
I think he's leaving himself an opportunity of actually holding a title and not everyone screaming about him dropping the title.
Right.
So EY knows what he's doing. He's been around 10 years.
All right, so the last 10 minutes of Impact, TNA, they're all in the ring. They call out Aces and Eights. Aces and Eights come out. There's an all-out brawl. We're basically seeing everyone on the TNA roster get together, put away their differences, and that's a nice part of this story that, it doesn't matter who these Aces and Eights are. They're seen as outsiders attacking the entire company, not just, a few random people.
Well, they attacked almost everybody. They were doing the list, and Angle, Pope, everybody. So, they had to, gang up, because you've seen how many Aces and Eights were out there. A ton, and you know how it led up with Austin Aries getting that big chair shot on his arm. He's gonna sell that for a couple weeks.
Sure, but I mean, like there's Gunner out there, Robbie E are out there. Those are guys that you normally wouldn't see, fighting alongside Sting and AJ Styles and, everyone else. So that's all I'm saying. It's just kind of strange, but it's a nice change. It's a nice addition to the story. But yeah, like you said, how it ended was Aries got his arm tangled up in the guardrail that they set up. They hit him with a chair, so we might see Austin Aries out for a couple events. Maybe that's leading up to a possible drop at the next pay-per-view. No Surrender. Who knows?
Ooh, that would be a story right there. But who would he fight? They still haven't hyped up the pay-per-view at all.
Yeah, they have not. And let's move on to No Surrender. I have no one in the live chat wanting to come on to the show. Where you at, guys?
But, don't be scared.
Yeah, don't be scared. We don't bite. And Steve's okay now. He's out on bond. He's not. But the No Surrender card, September 9th. That's 2 weeks away, and we have no matches right now.
None. Is
that a bad move, do you think? Should we have something already?
At least one match somewhere along the line, but I think they're building without actually promoting. We might see a Sting and Hogan versus, Aces and Eights, which I doubt because, Hogan doesn't wrestle too much. But also Austin Aries, they're using the Bound for Glory series as the hype. So I'm sure we'll see. Well, we do have one match. It's the Final Four. They're going to fight, right? at the end?
I could be wrong, but I think the final four are competing at Bound for Glory, like in the opening contest or something like that. I could be wrong though. Let me take a look at that.
Yeah, because I thought they fought at No Surrender, and then they know, oh, that's the number one contender.
All right. Well, while I take a look at that, let's talk about one of the rumors that's going around right now, and that's the idea that we might see a TNA versus Aces and Eights match, probably like a 5-on-5 or that style match, like a tag match, but in a War Games style match. So basically Lethal Lockdown, maybe with another ring, or maybe just in a Lethal Lockdown, who knows. Talk about that. Do you think that we'll see something like that, and do you want to see something like that?
I would, as long as they are unmasked. So we know who they are. That would be nice, or we end up knowing who they are by the end of the match. I thought we were going to find out who more people were tonight, which we only saw that one guy who wasn't really in Aces and Eights, so they said. He just got patched in. But I think it would be good. You know, they're spending all the time on it, and you can't go wrong with that War Games type Lethal Lockdown match. It'll be better than last year when it was Eric Bischoff versus Garrett Bischoff. That was too.
Yeah,
good.
that was not the storyline to wrap in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm on ImpactWrestling.com right now on the BFG series page, and it does say that the top point leaders advance to No Surrender for a one-night playoff. So we will find out who the number one contender is on September 9th at No Surrender, and then we'll have the entire month or so to build up the Bound for Glory World Title match.
Okay. Sounds good. So we got one match on No Surrender. We'll probably see a TV title match. Devon defending against someone. Hopefully Robbie T would be a good contender. Maybe Gunner. Someone else. Maybe. They just did Kaz last pay-per-view. We could see a couple options.
Yeah, and we actually just saw a rematch of Kaz versus Devon on Explosion this week. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, but again, Devon won, defended his title again. So, which is another strange thing that I guess we could get into. But seeing as it's 10:30, this is a 30-minute show. Is there anything else from last night, or it's not last night's, tonight's show that you wanna go over?
Tonight's show. We went over everything almost, but big thing is we need to see a Robbie T push. Sting and Hogan. I'd like to see more of them work together, not against each other. And yeah, that gut check guy, he better get cut, or I'm gonna be pretty mad.
Yeah.
For the whole next month. But other than that, yeah, good show. I would give it about like an 8.7 out of 10. Could have used more wrestling, less talk. The AJ Claire thing, subpar. Pretty decent.
Yeah, that segment was about 15 minutes longer than it needed to be. All right, so as we said in the beginning of this is the official podcast of our Facebook group. This is facebook.com/groups/TNA, where the big boys play. Speaking of No Surrender, just throw out a little plug here. In 2 weeks, on Thursday, so that's September 6th, we are going to be building up No Surrender. But it's going to be instead of us, it's going to be the guys from FTW. They do an hour-long show after Impact to basically build up the pay-per-view. So definitely mark your calendars. I know I added the event in Facebook, so definitely check that out. Again, you guys, this is a call-in show, so we're going to do this again next week. Feel free to join us on Skype at the FTW Podcast on Skype, and we'll bring you in. And get your thoughts. Thank you for everyone in the live chat. Yeah, that's about it. Okay. So, again, my name's Garvin.
And I'm on Bond, Steve Gallan. Have a good night, y'all.
All right, have a good night, everyone.